Hey everyone, Max here, and you are listening to the first episode of Downloadables. This is a podcast or a YouTube cast or whatever until I can find a way to host it that's about video games. And I've been a fan of podcasts for a really long time now, especially video game podcasts. But I didn't want to do something that was just more general talk about video games. I wanted to do something that was more focused and specific. And so I came up with the idea to do a more short form show about download only games, hence the title. And so what this is going to be about is basically games that don't have a hard copy. It's things you can get on Steam, Xbox Live Arcade, whatever the PlayStation equivalent is to Xbox because I don't have a PlayStation, iPhone, and then I guess just some other random PC games that maybe aren't on Steam or good old games. We might talk about MMOs, we might not. It just kind of depends. They're a lot harder to pin down and discuss in a short period of time because they're constantly changing. But that could change too. We might talk about an MMO here or there. Probably what we're going to be talking the majority about though is indie games because I'm a big fan of indie games and anything indie really anything that needs more that is extremely creative and needs more exposure, then I'm a fan of that. And that goes for video games too, because they're often really incredible experiences that just don't get the kind of coverage they need or deserve. So for this first show, I should probably explain because I'm an amateur and didn't uh, at the beginning of the show coming up here that the first game is Home, and it is an 8-bit side-scrolling horror adventure game. And that's pretty much all you need to know. We're going to go right into the discussion without really saying that. So without further ado, let's start the show.
Have you been this way all the time? Or were you always trying to get here with me? With me. You used to check the weather, now you stopped that. You used to look at time.
But for the first episode here, we're going to be talking about a game called Home, and it's by a developer. His name is Benjamin Rivers. This is definitely a very indie game, and you can find the game at the site is called homehorror.com, and you can get it on Steam. There's a PC version on Steam, and he says the Mac version is coming, and it's only $3 on Steam, so you should definitely go and pick it up. But so for this first episode here, I've got my friend Jeremy Stratton of Massively.com here. How's it going, Jeremy?
Pretty good. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. So you turned me on to this game. You talked about it on Twitter like last week, I guess.
Yeah, I've been doing playthroughs for my little video thing. I do 5-minute adventures.
Yeah, I saw that. So, overall, what's your take on the game? Do you have a positive take or negative, or are you just kind of in between, or how do you feel about it?
Oh, mostly positive. It was fun. It's a fun little game. I guess the caveat is it's little, but
yeah, it is
I
very
really
short.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, how many playthroughs have you gone through of it?
Only one right now. I'm definitely going to do another one because it looks like some things can change. I don't know how much yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only done one too. How long did yours take? Because mine only took an hour, maybe close to an hour and a half. It was not very long.
I kept breaking mine up because I was videoing it in large and small chunks.
Yeah.
For my very first playthrough, I didn't pre-play it and then record. So that drug it out for sure. But even then it was only maybe a little over 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a very long game. I'd say $3 on Steam is pretty reasonable for it, I think.
Oh heck yeah! I mean, $3 and the story's neat. I think that's what people. If it wasn't made yet, I would be saying, well, your narrative is going to make or break the game.
Yeah.
And now after playing, I can tell that, yeah.
So you have a pretty positive take on the game. This is good because I didn't really like the game all that much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's your main
well, I mean,
beef with it?
My main gripe is that I just didn't like the story that much. I just thought it was left like too much up. I didn't feel like he was telling the player a story. He was leaving it too much up to interpretation. Yeah,
I read a lot of Twitter messages of people actually in the same boat as you. They didn't like it. It's definitely like one of those things that's all anticipation. It's like I don't know. Through the narrative, he doesn't really unfold this huge story so much as just keep feeding you anticipation.
Yeah, and well, see, and that was good because it had a lot of forward momentum. Like I kept wanting to move forward, through the game to find out what was going on, but the payoff was not really there for me, I guess. It just was like, oh, you're kind of leaving this up to me to... Oh, and I guess we should say now, we're pretty much going to spoil the game. So if you don't want to... I mean, I'm going to spoil it. I guess you don't have to, but I'm going to spoil it because...
No, that's cool. I want to know some more details of...
Yeah, I mean, I want to know what your interpretation of it, definitely. So I think we should definitely just tell them right now we're going to spoil it. And I mean, it's, you should just stop listening right now, go play the game for an hour and a half, and come back and finish listening to this. But yeah, so... But when you got to the end, it was just kind of like, oh, you're saying you don't really know what happened? You're telling me I should kind of decide for myself?
Yeah, that's definitely how I felt. But, I don't know. I've watched so many, like, art house movies over the years.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm jaded or something, or I just don't care anymore. But I used to get a little bit aggravated. I used to watch lots of movies that kind of did that. They kept, like, building up to something, but then at the end, there was no something.
Yeah, there's no payoff.
Yeah, and sometimes, in a way, it's even worse, because not only is it build up and then nothing, you're not given anything, you're actually giving a somewhat confusing ending.
Yeah.
So you're like, what?
I didn't feel like this was... I mean, I definitely drew the conclusion at the end. I mean, for me, personally, I guess it wasn't confusing, because I drew the conclusion that this guy was a crazy person and had just killed all these people and then blacked out and couldn't remember and woke up in that creepy house and then was basically going back through his, like, little area of slaughter. What did you think about it?
Yeah, close to the same thing. I like that in a way. It kept me, and especially since I decided to video it, so I just, at first I was like, well, I better start talking, fill dead air. But then it sort of came naturally. I just kept blurting out my guesses. I wanted to keep guessing what was happening the whole time. So maybe it colored my vision by recording it, knowing that I was recording it and guessing out loud. But I like that. I even like movies like that now. What did you? I'm curious to see how different the ending is for you than it was for me. Did you get into the safe?
No, I didn't. See, and that's another big problem I had with the game. Although it had forward momentum and it kept pushing you forward and you wanted to figure out, you wanted to go on to the next level/area, it wouldn't let you go backwards. So I felt like I missed a lot of stuff. Yeah,
I was in the factory and I was going all through it.
Yeah.
And I got back down and I'm like, oh yeah, I got the key card and this, great. And I went back out and I'm like, go in that door or this door? And I went to the far door and it was the one that led out. Yeah. And I was like, no! And it's a little confusing because there's that part, huge spoiler, I suppose, maybe not, that where you see like a shadowy figure.
Wait.
Like someone was following you. Did you get that?
What part was... No, maybe. What part was that in?
just before you got to the factory. You're out. It's outdoors, but it's right before you get to the factory. You're moving from right to left, and you're walking, and you go through a door, and then you say something like, "I felt like something. I heard something. And I forget what he said, but there was like a moment there that, and I thought I'm gonna go back through the door. So I did, and I kept walking, and all of a sudden I was like, what the heck is that? Because it was all of a sudden there was like a silhouette of a person, and then it just runs off.
Oh, see, yeah, no, I didn't see that. Well, that's okay. That's interesting then, because that actually leads credence either the character's insane and he's just seeing things, and then by virtue of the fact you're seeing things, or there is actually somebody there, and that means he isn't the one killing everyone. There is someone else, because I mean, you're the only living person that you ever see over the course of the game. So if there is another person there, I could only assume that that's the person who's killing everyone, right? I mean,
yeah, I think this kind of talk about it is a really good thing that comes out of the game. Even if somebody doesn't really, wasn't happy with the game. It's kind of interesting that there's these little tiny elements to it.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, even if I didn't like it, to Ben Rivers' credit, I mean, he's got us sitting here, doing a little podcast about it, talking about his game, and I mean, like I said, I think it's definitely worth $3 on Steam just to experience it, and yeah.
I think it's good enough that it makes me wonder what his background is. I didn't really look into his background, like whether he was, or even whether he was just really into like writing and creative writing and that, because it seems like a really good story for what it is to me.
Yeah, for a little game, it's a good story. However, and I wouldn't call myself a writer necessarily, but I do enjoy writing, and I for school I have to write a lot. But I did not like the constant use of past tense in the narration. That really bothered me. I didn't understand why everything was past tense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was another thing that that confuses me, coupled with the very end of the game, because they didn't come out at the end of the game like it wasn't like telling. It wasn't like da-da, yeah, see, this was all past tense because of this, and this, or whatever.
Yeah.
It was kind of like this different kind of ending that was kind of present tense, and they're like, so you're, it's like, well, just what we discussed. But yeah, I don't know, throughout, I mean, I didn't even catch on at the very beginning. I didn't even realize until I had already recorded a first huge segment of the game, and then I had started up again, and all of a sudden I realized, I'm like, and I said it on video, do you notice how it's in past tense? Yeah. And I went back and realized it was some time before I even caught on, so I don't...
I don't mind the narration. I think it's it actually reminded me of those old silent movies where they would go, something would happen, and then it would go to that screen with the narration or the character's dialogue, and that, that's fine. That's cool. It kind of calls back to that, but it just didn't make sense to me that it would be past tense when you're, and especially like you said at the end, when it doesn't really clear that up, and you're experiencing it seemingly in the present. So yeah, I don't know, that bothered me.
Well, I can see that. The ending, to me, the ending comes off as completely present tense, and then he's remembering. While throughout, it's like, it suggests memory, but not in the same way. Not like somebody's in the present remembering. It suggests that, you're kind of creating those memories. So at the end, when he's telling you what he remembers, that's separated from you having a direct influence if you're creating those memories. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I get what you mean. It just feels to me, it just feels kind of awkward and kind of clumsy, I guess.
Yeah.
It leaves me feeling.
Yeah, and I guess after all said and done, it's like you kind of want to forgive it because it was. I bought mine for half price.
Oh, did you?
I got mine for like $1.49 or $1.29.
Yeah, when you posted about it, I think I went and downloaded it that same day. I might have got it for half price too. So you can't really poo-poo a game that you get that. But I mean, I think it's important to have a discussion about the mechanics and the narrative and what is trying to be accomplished with the game too, and whether or not it succeeds.
Yeah, it's a super simple game. I mean, it's all pixelated, but really, what are you doing for movement? There's no jumping. You're moving left and right.
Yeah,
and then you're like,
and I did like that. I like the controls. I mean, I thought he kept it very simple. You're just going left and right. You can point the flashlight up, and you just hit the space bar to interact with things. And I like that it was kept extremely simple, and it was not complicated, because it didn't need to be.
Yeah, I think it's just more proof, though, that like if somebody can create a nice all-around package, they can make a really decent indie game and get it marketed. I mean, if you think of that in the scope of even other indie games, like I don't know if you've looked at To the Moon or anything yet, some others, or even programs like RPG Maker and that. They still have a level of complexity. This one, I'm sure you have to program and code some, I'm sure, but it's just seems super, super simple. And it was like this, to me, 50% or more was all about just getting the aesthetic and doing the narrative.
Yeah. So talking about aesthetic, did you like the graphics? Because I thought people complain about 8-bit pixel graphics are so overdone now, but I mean, I liked the graphics. I thought they were really good, and I think it did a lot for the atmosphere.
Yeah, I liked it, and also I think it was just kind of I don't know if the right word is kitschy or not, but it's kind of neat because he went for that unique horror game experience. So he he kind of like focused it on that, so that kind of made it a little bit, at least to me, made it a little more attractive. I'm like, this is kind of neat. He's taken a pixely game and building a horror game experience in some ways reminiscent of the adventure games in some ways.
Yeah. And it's funny that it looks so. And I'm definitely. Are you playing Lone Survivor right now? Because I'm definitely gonna go. That'll be my next. I think we'll probably. Hopefully, if the show keeps up, we'll cover that on a future show. Are you playing that right now?
No, I haven't. I've already downloaded it, but I haven't started my next playthrough of another game yet for my show. But I'm kind of torn now between either doing To the Moon, which is a more pixelated, like 16-bit RPG, or Lone Survivor. I'm not sure yet what I'll do.
I'm definitely interested in that. It's funny because, and I had sent a message to you on Twitter that, Home looks like so much like Lone Survivor, and then the developer of Home sent me a message and was like, it does look similar, but it's completely different. And I believe him, because I mean, Lone Survivor it looks much more like an RPG than an adventure game. Although I guess it has adventure elements too. I don't know. But yeah, so to bring it back to Home, you were talking earlier about like how it was. You thought the graphics were kind of creepy, and it had a very like. Were you scared at all? Because
I jumped a couple times.
Did you really?
Yeah, a little bit. Because I just plowed right into that cat. And I was like, I had to record. I had to re-record that. By the way. Yeah, so a little bit of it, I try not to be fake or anything, but like I just started plowing away, and I was like, okay, I gotta slow down and start over here.
Because I never had any fear. I mean, I guess at the beginning I did because I wasn't really sure what was going on. But as I got into the game more, as I got through more of the areas, I wasn't scared. I didn't have any dread because I was like, oh, nothing's really going to pop out. Nothing. There's no one else here. So I
That
don't.
shadowy figure is kind of pops out at you too.
Yeah, no, and I guess if I had
Yeah.
seen that, I would have been like, oh shit, there is something else here. But I never saw that in my playthrough, which kind of leads me to another one of my points was that if there's nothing outside of the flashlight, like the light that you're kind of encapsulated in, there's not really any point for there being the flashlight. I didn't feel like.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the flashlight was pretty. Yeah, it was kind of. It probably would have been make or break.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, it's a neat idea, but I just felt like, well, there's nothing out there on the edge of my vision that I should be scared of, so it just seemed kind of pointless to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think back now. Throughout the game, there's a few different sounds, sudden sounds here and there. I don't know
Yeah.
if you noticed that.
I did, and the sound and the game didn't really have a lot of, I wouldn't call it music necessarily or a soundtrack, but the sound effects were really good and they were creepy, and I did like that. So you like the sounds too?
Yeah, I thought that the whole ambiance, whatever, was really good.
Okay, so about the tension, you seem like you felt a lot of tension in the game. I didn't, and that has a lot to do with the fact that there's nobody else there, and I'm just constantly moving forward, and I don't think you have to have combat to do tension, because there's games like Amnesia that do it really well, and you can't do anything in that game other than run away from whatever's chasing you. But I just felt no dramatic tension, or maybe dramatic tension's the wrong word, but no just like scary tension of like, oh gosh, I better get out of here, or I better keep going, or did you?
For maybe what it equaled about close to half the game, if that. Right about the time I got through the factory, or sometime during the factory, I started to kind of relax, and I never really.
Yeah.
It was kind of gone by then.
Yeah, I would definitely say about halfway through, I just kind of relaxed and was like, well, although whenever you would find a dead body, that was creepy, or whenever you'd find blood on the walls, it was a little bit creepy. But other than that, there was really no tension, no kind of.
Yeah, up until the basement at the end.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they that like grinding sound or whatever started. That did pick it back up for me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my main takeaway from this, from my biggest problem with the game, and I feel like I'm just shitting all over this game, and I really shouldn't be, because I think it's a worthwhile game, and people should definitely go and play it, and, maybe I'm just being a Debbie Downer about it, but my biggest problem was just with the story, because I really like good stories in games, and I know they're hard to find. But in adventure games, like, I feel like that should definitely be the strongest, like, component of the game, and it just really wasn't there for me.
I thought maybe I'm being too lenient on it. I don't know, because it's so cheap. But yeah, I mean, it's not going to win any awards, I don't think. I mean, I'm wondering, my big thing now is I want to go through another playthrough and see what changes and how much changes. And is it all going to be just at the end? I mean, is it going to be playing through primarily everything exactly the same way? And then maybe at the end, a few bits of the dialogue are different based on some of the maybe dynamic events or something, based on what you decide to pick up or not.
Yeah, so, like, because there's a number of things that you can either do or not do, and I probably would have done them if I had known that I could do them, but then I skipped past them. There is watching the video reel, or the videotape. Did you do that?
No, did you?
No, I missed it, and I was like, oh crap, I gotta go back and do this, but I think it might have been in the factory, maybe.
It was in the waterworks.
Yeah, okay, it was there. Yeah, but I missed that. There was a safe that I missed. And I feel like there was, I feel like there was definitely something in the factory that I missed too. So,
yeah, I didn't get into that door. I did get the key card for it, but I didn't go in because I chose to go into the left door, and that was the one that let out, and then it locked behind. What did you? How often did you say yes versus no to things?
Oh, I said yes pretty much every single time.
Yeah, the vast majority of the time I said yes. There were a couple key times I thought about it for a second, and I said I'm going to say no, but most of the time I said yes.
Yeah, I think maybe there was, like you said, like one time where I was like, no. But, I wanted to get as much out, like I kept and that's another thing too, like I kept all the guns and weapons, but you never had any reason to use them. You didn't use yours, did you?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So
mine ended like, he tells that thing about, is this what you were trying to tell me? There never was any Rachel, and big spoiler.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess
cut that out.
It doesn't matter. I warned him up front there would be spoilers. So, but yeah. So I guess like you, I'll go back and replay it, and maybe I'll have a better experience the second time. Maybe it'll be different. Maybe I'll enjoy the story better. I don't know. Maybe he means for the game to be replayed multiple times.
Well, here's one thing I think: whether a person liked the game or not, it's. I mean, right there, even people. Well, you suppose you fell on the negative side, I'm guessing, or slightly, anyways.
Yeah. But
you might replay it some more, and we're sitting there talking about it. So I think there's there's that value of it that came out of it too, which I think is very interesting. Kind of, it makes me now want to maybe follow conversations via Twitter a little bit more to see if more people are like doing the same kind of discussion.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. I know that feeling when I feel that I don't think that I've gotten my money's worth of something, where I don't feel like there's as much value in this thing, and I'm not getting that here. Like I think that I definitely got my for $1.50, $3, whatever you pay for this game. It's not very much. And I feel like you definitely get enough out of it. Like you said, we're sitting here talking about it, and it's a worthwhile experience. And just because I'm down on it and whatever, I think that shouldn't discourage people from going to play it. Part of the show part of this podcast is that I really want to support and talk about independent games, because people just don't play them that much, and a lot of the times they're really worthwhile experiences that can be very worth having, either emotionally or you've played a lot of really good indie games, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've got even more though. I haven't, but I've got a stack on Steam that are collecting dust. But yeah, you know what? Too briefly, this kind of, I wonder if he took some inspiration from some movies. There's that cult classic. It's a really old, I think, an Italian flick horror movie. It's ancient. A lot of people actually don't know about it, but it runs the cult horror circles. And
what's it called?
I can't remember it, and I think all we have is a rough translation, but it's an Italian horror movie film that is there's no payoff in it at all. It's the entire thing was to build and keep you on the edge of your seat from beginning to end, and there's no payoff. There's no nothing. There's no reveal of a bad guy or an enemy or a monster or anything in the entire movie. It's all through sound and light and the visuals he used. He wanted to just have people creeped out the whole time.
Yeah. See, I don't think I'd like that very much.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that don't, but yeah, it just dawned on me, and I'm thinking while we're talking, I just thought of it.
Yeah. And I appreciate really good artistic visuals. I like horror. I like being creeped out. I get creeped out easily. I guess that's something I should have mentioned up front. Like, I watch horror movies. I play horror games. I get scared easily. It doesn't take a lot to get me scared. But this game didn't scare me. How do you feel about, horror movies and games?
Oh, I typically don't like them, and I don't know what keeps bringing me back to the likes of Resident Evil. It's weird. Like, I don't hate them. I just don't gravitate toward them. Like, really, and especially the really scary stuff, I don't like at all. But there's certain things, and sometimes there's just certain elements of movies. Like I enjoy the Resident Evil movies. Like, for all they are, I enjoy them and I think that's because there's a heavy mix of action in it, maybe, and a little bit of that sci-fi ness going on. So it's kind of on a individual basis sometimes if I like it or not. But for the most part, I'm not a horror fan, really. But I do have some horror adventure games because I'm a huge adventure game fan. And sometimes things are interesting. Like, my favorite franchise, and I only ever played the first one, so I can't really say it's my favorite franchise, but was that Fatal Frame way back on, I think, PS2, PlayStation 2.
That's the one with the camera, right?
Yeah.
I've heard of that. I've never played it.
That's what attracted me. Yeah, well, they're up to, like, part 4 now. But, yeah, so, I mean, as far as home goes, as a horror experience, I liked it for the different elements it had, and it did keep me in suspense for about half of the movie, about half of the game, and then at the end a little bit more, you know. But I'll replay it, but I can't really say. I mean, the cat. The first time I hit that cat, I did actually you know, and then I did that once. There was a big clanging sound. So I can get creeped out really easy too. So, like,
Did you play it with headphones on? Because they say they say up front you should be wearing your headset with this. Yeah,
that's what I was trying to remember earlier. Yeah, part of the game is that you have to be willing to put yourself in the mood, like, basically. Because it says at the beginning, best experience, wear headphones and turn out the lights. So, like, play it at night, turn out the light, to really help yourself get into it.
Yeah, I did that. And you did that too?
Yeah.
So, I would definitely classify this as definitely, because there's not really, I mean, I guess there's violence in the past sense in the game. There's not really any, I guess there's gore, but it's pixelated gore, so it's not really it's not really disgusting. So I would definitely say this is much more of a psychological horror kind of story than, you know, Saw or, you know, any, like, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know, I'm just... yeah, all those really bad, just, you know...
pornographies.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, this is, and it's very much trying to be more psychological, and I guess, you know, depending on where you fall in the game, it either succeeds or fails at that. I guess it probably failed at that for me, but, you know, at least he has a direction that he's going in, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, it's going to be interesting if he makes another one. Somehow I think if he does make another game, it's going to be not related, but...
Yeah. I'm definitely interested to see what he does next.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I told him on Twitter I'd love to see another one, even if it's another separate standalone story, but utilizing all the elements he did and the way he did it, like through that narrative. And, you know, if he did that, but maybe it was a totally different story.
Yeah. The only, if he does something similar, the only thing I want is an inventory, so I know what I'm holding on to and what I need to do with it. That's the only thing I want. That would have made it a lot easier to remember, like, oh, I should go back and do this before I move forward.
Until you really get into it, you might. I think people playing it for the first time might miss a lot because, like we mentioned earlier, it's really minimalist in how you control it.
Yeah. I mean, just, you know, hitting one button to go to the inventory wouldn't have been... I don't think that would have taken away too much from it. It would have probably... I think, in my experience at least, it would have helped the gameplay a lot more.
Yeah. And that... But then you start to think about, well, if I'm not going to use it, I think it would be nice. If it would have been nice just to look at. I agree with that.
Yeah. All right, so I guess we should wrap up here. So, I guess every at the end of these shows, we want to do a thumbs up, thumbs down, recommend, don't recommend, or if you're just kind of meh, lukewarm, don't really want to say either way. So what would you give Home?
Yeah, I give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend it. And for only even at full price, it's like $3 and some change, if that.
Yeah. I would say I'm giving it a thumbs down because I didn't like it, but I still recommend people go play it because it's only $3 and it's an hour and a half, 2 hours at most probably, and you can replay it more than likely, and I think it's a worthwhile game to go play. Even though I didn't like it, I'm sure there's other people out there who definitely will like it. Alright, so I guess we're just going to wrap it up here. You can find me on Twitter at Max Castillo, all one word. And obviously, if you're watching this, it's probably only on YouTube so far, so you've already found my YouTube channel. Jeremy, where can they find you, and what are you doing right now?
I'm on Twitter and Google Plus a lot still. I'm at Jeremy_Stratton on Twitter, and just search Jeremy Stratton on Google Plus. And I created an About Me page. It's if you go to about.me/Jeremy Stratton. That has sort of like my internet calling card. So it has all my links and information to different videos. I do weekly videos on YouTube, and my links for all that and more are there.
Alright, excellent. And you've got a weekly playthrough of Home going right now that you're about to finish up, right?
Yep, one more video to be uploaded. It's on my show that I'm calling 5-Minute Adventures. So it's really chopped up into almost 20 episodes because it's 5 minutes each.
Yeah, well, that's cool. People can watch it on their lunch break or something when they need to maybe kill some time or something. That's really neat. All right, so I guess that's it for the first episode of whatever this ends up being. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks to Benjamin Rivers for making this game. He made a really interesting game, and we'll I guess see y'all next time.
Thanks for having me on.
Replace the word space with a drink and forget it. Space is only noise if you can see. Grab a calculator and fix yourself. Grab a calculator, you can fix yourself. Replace the word space with a drink and forget it. Space is watch your clock, baby, watch your clock. Replace the watch the weather, baby, on TV. Forget it. Space is only noise that you can see. 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 Space is only noise that you can see.